Hello you guys, and welcome to Abundantly Minimal. My name is Sarah, and thank you for joining me for today's video, which is all about 4 specific strategies you can use to stop clutter. If you've been subscribed for a while, you know that a lot of our videos relate to dealing with clutter and getting rid of certain types of clutter. However, in today's video, we're going to share these strategies so you can prevent this clutter accumulation from happening. So even if we have decluttered a lot and really simplified our space, it's our habits that will help keep the space clutter-free. And as someone who I would say by default is kind of a messy person, these strategies help me so much to keep my space as clutter-free as possible because, sometimes clutter does kind of accumulate, and it's usually because we weren't following these strategies I'll share here. Let's begin. My first strategy is to decide what actually needs to be out. We might assume we have to have certain items out on our surfaces, but the truth is maybe those items don't need to be there. Could there be a simple place we put them that doesn't require too much time to get them out, which will allow the surfaces to stay as open as possible? Take a look at your kitchen counters, bathroom counters. Do you have a desk? Do you have a coffee table? What other surfaces do you have? A cluttered surface may reflect cluttered mind, and it makes it a lot tougher to find what you need. Are any of the items that are currently out on these locations something you could put away? Yes, it does mean there's maybe some added time to get these items out, but again, we're looking at systems today. Now, some things are more so decoration or decor, like the salt lamp, for instance, or a plant. You're going to keep those out. But for the other stuff that's not always needed, does it have to be out? So check those surfaces and see if you need to still have them out. My next tip for a clutter-free home is systems over stuff. You want to have systems for items rather than focusing on the stuff. Because yes, you can declutter a space yourself, but as we mentioned before, just because you declutter doesn't mean that stuff's not going to accumulate there or in a certain spot where it's not supposed to be. Try to see what systems you can put in place in your space to prevent clutter from accumulating. For example, one of these could be the one-touch system. Using the one-touch system, each item really should only be touched once. So for example, let's say I'm coming home from work. Usually I have my purse, my lunchbox, and my jacket, at least when it's cold out. Now, I could feel kind of lazy and just drop everything on the couch and walk away, but that's not the one-touch system, because I have to touch them again later to put them away. Instead, even though this might be a new habit to implement, I can put the purse on the hook right by the door. I can take my coat off, put that right there. I could take my lunchbox right to the kitchen and take care of it then. Then I don't have to deal with that clutter later. It saves you time and builds good habits. So the one-touch system's excellent. Likewise, in the bathroom, Jake and I have set up more of a system for our certain body care products and personal care products that we need. As I showed you guys recently in our minimalist bathroom tour, which I will link up here as well as below if you're curious, we have a set system and only keep the minimum amount of products we need in the bathroom medicine cabinet. This means that those are our essentials every day. Each item has a spot and you put it back in that same spot immediately after use. Before, when we didn't have that space or we kept other items that didn't have to be in there, it was tougher for us because we'd have more clutter spread out on the sink. Having a set place where something goes and putting it back right away will prevent that clutter from accumulating no matter where it is in your space. Another important strategy to keep a clutter-free home has to do with preventing new clutter from entering your space. We definitely want to be very careful about what comes into our space because a lot of the stuff that ends up cluttering things up is more so mindless clutter or things you feel like you'll deal with later but not actually get to them, for a while. This could be things such as mail or different freebies. It could also be when you're shopping. It can be really helpful to deal with things right away. For instance, when you get the mail, handle the mail right away. Walk stuff right over to the recycle bin. Open things up that need to be dealt with right away if possible. And then you can prevent as much clutter since a lot of mail can be kind of junky. And even though Jake and I have removed ourselves from a lot of those automatic mailings lists, unfortunately there still can be kind of some junky stuff that you don't need, so right to the recycle bin for those items. Get rid of freebie items as well. Ideally, don't even pick up freebie type items as well, but if you do bring them into your space, just try to deal with them immediately to get them right out of your space. If you do feel like you struggle from wanting to shop a lot or shopping more than you need to, maybe you could adopt a one in, one out policy where you purchase something, and if you do, that's fine, but then you have to get rid of another type of item. So for example, if you do purchase a new pair of shoes, you do have to get rid of one of your old pairs of shoes. That will overall keep the amount of things you have at the same number, and you also then will have a spot for your new items where the old item used to be. This can be a great strategy, but I think in general, just limiting the amount we're bringing into our space as much as possible is really helpful. And my last strategy for a clutter-free home is to get rid of enablers. Now, what are these enablers? If you look around your space, any furniture whose main purpose is storage could be enabling you to hold on to more than you need. Now, sometimes these pieces of furniture can be really helpful. I know personally this piece of furniture, yes, technically it does serve a purpose of storage, but Jake and I each on the top shelf keep our day-to-day materials like computers and the things we're using every day in here so they don't get left out on the desk or the coffee table. So they've got a spot, that's system, but also down below we've got a couple of the cubes, one of which conceals all these different junky looking cords. So definitely, yes, this is kind of storage, but we're definitely not really using the space fully to stuff it with things, which we don't need to do and we don't want to do. So technically, yes, this is like a storage piece. However, there's been many storage pieces and pieces of furniture over the years where their main purpose was really just to hold our stuff. And sometimes it even goes beyond furniture and it's extra space. The very first apartment Jake and I had together was a first floor of the house. I don't know an exact number of square footage, but I believe it was larger than where we currently live now. And there was a second bedroom. We didn't have a roommate or anything. That was just like our extra stuff room. And I'm pretty embarrassed that we had that like that for about 2 years, where it was purely just stuff. And that's when we kind of started realizing that we had a problem before we began simplifying. So that was really bad because that whole room was enabling us to hold on to extra stuff. Do you have a room like that where it's just enabling you to keep that extra stuff you don't actually need? We also were so lucky to get a piece of furniture from Jake's parents that was some of his bedroom furniture. When he was a kid, it was an extra dresser, but we already had 2 dressers for our bedroom, so we used that dresser as a large piece of furniture in our living room. Well, guess what? That was an enabler. And so when we did move to our next apartment then a few years ago, we were able to give that back to his parents. We made do by taking all the stuff that was in there that we didn't really need and putting it somewhere else or getting rid of some of it. So that was a way we were able to get rid of that large piece of furniture and instead be able to, find other uses for it, open up all that space, and we're much happier because of that. And even most recently, before we moved to our condo at the moment, we were in an apartment. Now this apartment didn't have a basement, but there was a very mini little storage unit down below, kind of like what a closet size might be. And we did put some of our extra stuff in there. I hate to admit it, even though, definitely consider myself a minimalist through those processes, I still had some of that extra stuff that was out of sight, out of mind in those storage areas. And unfortunately, a lot of it we didn't actually deal with until we moved here. Such as a previous video, I talked about how we had this old guitar for a while that I was holding on to but not using. Moving that out of that storage unit into our space here made me realize I had to deal with it. So I did. Even though we might think that these extra pieces of storage are nice because they allow us to hold on to more stuff and really prevent us from having to deal with it and make the tough decisions, it might be holding you back. So eliminating any of this storage will then allow us to hopefully eliminate or deal with any of the clutter that might be there. This is definitely a gradual process. Some of these things take a really long time, especially when we used to have that storage room that was holding extra stuff. So definitely feel free to follow along at your own pace here, whatever works best for you. But if you have any clutter enablers, that could be a really great candidate of something to let go of. Thank you guys for watching today. I hope this video was helpful in giving you some set strategies you can use for a clutter-free home. If it's something you've never had before, it might feel like it's impossible or more difficult, but I'm hopeful that this video, as well as maybe some of the other videos on this channel, will help you realize that you can accomplish that too. I was definitely in a place where things were out of control, a disaster, I had way too much, and it was overwhelming. And since that point now, 3.5 years later, my life looks totally different, and I just love where it's headed. And I know myself, even as a messy person, if I could do it, it's definitely something you can accomplish too. For more motivation, if you'd like to check out any of our other past videos, you can do that right up here, and you can subscribe to the channel up here. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.